Hey, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Week 16 PBHS Edge. I'm Rashab. I'm accompanied by Angad, Mr. Woodward, and Mr. Ellis. It's been a great week of football. A lot of good games going down. And getting into my Ravens, coming off a really rough loss to Green Bay. I'm really impressed with this team, with the way that we've came with all the COVID related things, injuries, and Tyler Huntley stepping up again. In his second career start, Tyler Huntley played really, really good. He looked so sharp in the first half, connecting with Mark Andrews, other receivers on key plays, and he looked sharp throwing the ball, running the ball, and getting to Mark Andrews. He had a really career game. Like he's the first tight end in Ravens history to surpass the 1,000-yard mark. So we just know. I'm just happy that we signed this man to a 4-year deal. This man was going off. I also want to take note of the Ravens' run defense. We did a good job of limiting, not shutting down, but limiting Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon on the ground. But as the game progresses, people get gassed and it gets hard to stop them. But D line played really good, and then the main thing coming out of this game was a 2-point conversion at the end of the game where Tyler Huntley ran it in, and then John Harbaugh sent the offense back out. Uh, I don't disagree with the 2-point call. I mean, I think it's probably what the best call you can do there. I mean, if you kick it to overtime, I mean, it's a 50-50 chance. You give Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL history, to get the ball back. I mean, it's too much of a gamble. So just kill it, like going for the kill shot there. I mean, I think that's the best thing, but just the play call, man. I think everybody knew it was coming to Andrews with the motion and everything. You know, it was way too predictable. I think if they, ran the ball, because running the ball was effective that game. I mean, if they ran the ball, I think we would have a better chance, but it is what it is. Injuries, losing Clark and people like that. Tavon Young, one of the starting corners, and then bypassing that early field goal. I think, leaving points up on that first drive, really hurt it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And then also the officiating. Some of the officiating calls, I don't know what that was. That pass interference on Lazard, like it's fine. I mean, NFL officiating has been horrible. If you saw that call against the in the Seattle game, they just blatantly missed that pass interference call. Like, I mean, it is what it is. NFL officiating is just on a different level this season. But yeah,
For my Washington football team, it's another game of showing that we're just a team of halves. We perform one half and then just shut off a second half. This week it was only a quarter for us. Our COVID issues were very glaring. You could see our players were struggling, our linemen were gassed. People that just came off the COVID list were struggling, and we just got punched in the mouth on the run game. We couldn't stop them. We knew what they were going to do. Miles Sanders has been running the ball like crazy the past few games. We knew that was their game plan, and we couldn't stop them. And we tried compensating a bit too much for it, and then Goddard just torched us over 100 yards almost in the first quarter. It was not a great showing for us on the offense. You could see we were struggling with Garrett Gilbert. 4 days on the squad, he's struggling to read his receivers. He was only throwing the ball right when they not even after break. Clearly after they break break out of their routes, you could show you can see he didn't know the plays. He wasn't on sync with the wide receivers. He had a few nice moments like that pass Terry McLaurin, and he did his best. We couldn't expect any much more from him. Like he's been here for 4 days. We can't expect anything more from him. And coaching wise, we were missing all I believe our defensive line coach, our offensive line coach, running back coach, and defensive back coach. All those were just adding up. And then further injury, or more insult to injury, we lost William Jackson in the second quarter. So we were down our two top corners, and just things keep piling up for us. This team has shown we can fight through adversity, but the adversity is taking over right now, and it seems like this is a hill too big for us to climb. I don't think we're going to hit the playoffs. I don't think we're going to win a game this season, maybe against the Giants. But right now we're slated for a top 10 pick. So from playoffs to top 10 pick, I can't complain too much. Just onwards to next season. Hopefully we get a better quarterback.
I feel like I'm in a Spinal Tarp light show here behind me, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think the fireworks, did not come at all on Sunday in Pittsburgh for the offense yet again. And no one surprised about that. It was our sixth straight game of not scoring any points in the first quarter. That's an astonishing stat. And before that, we had gone eight straight games. So 14 out of our last 15 games, we have not scored an offensive point in the first quarter. Think about that. That's insane. And yet we're 7-6-1. This team looks like hot garbage for 3/4 of every game. But basura is not necessarily disaster, because this AFC North's wide open, ladies and gentlemen. And we got 3 games to go. And honestly, we can lose this game to Kansas City, win the next 2. That probably is going to be enough. Ravens fans, I hate to tell you this, but it's coming down to that last game. And if that's Big Ben's last game, potentially, I wouldn't want to face him in that game. I really wouldn't. And as bad and old as he is, one last hurrah for the old gunslinger? The new heir to the Wrangler jeans throne? Oh, I don't know.
That's right. He's just a couple of years away from a copper fit ad. There's no doubt about it. That's interesting you say that, Mr. Ellis. It won't come down to that last game. It'll come down to that last quarter, because as you said, the Steelers won't show up until the fourth quarter of the last game. That'll be the true meaning of down to the wire for sure. Yeah, interesting. 0 for 4 here this week. We are on the broadcast, and Patriots, they did not show up until halftime. I mean, 20-0. That is something they haven't done all year. But as sort of boomerang Patriot Jamie Collins, who has been back and forth on the Patriots now 3 times because Bill Belichick likes him. He likes how Jamie Collins approaches the game. He likes his talent too, but he's not the Jamie Collins of old. As he said, everybody's due for a game like that. Everybody needs a wake-up call. It never hurts to get a wake-up call. So for me, that loss, everybody, you'd love to see your teams just win out. But as I've learned over the years, I'd sometimes rather get that wake-up call regular season for damn sure than I would in the playoffs or, God forbid, in the Super Bowl. So for me, watching what happened to them this week, they got beat by a team who played better. They got beat on the ground, as several teams did this week. Jonathan Taylor showed why he should be in that conversation, if not at the top of that conversation for MVP, because he's doing it all for them. He's definitely the MVP on that team. They gave Carson Wentz a chance to throw it a couple times, and he almost cost him the game. I like what we did in the second half. It was Steeler-esque in the sense that they came back. They made some plays. They did some things that I think they can build off of, but they got to figure out what happened in that first half. And I think, if I look at it, I think they might have a pretty decent coach who can show them how to come out. And fortunately for us, we got Buffalo coming. And if you can't get up for that game, then you got bigger issues. But we'll see what happens with that game in a little bit.
Yeah, certainly a big game coming up for the Patriots against the Bills, a huge divisional showdown. But getting into our first game of the week, we got the Ravens versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Baltimore's 8-6, Cincinnati's 8-6. I think now for the Ravens, I certainly believe that it's a do or die at this point. I mean, we gotta at least win 2 of these last 3 games, because now we got Cincinnati, LA Rams, and then the Steelers, as Mr. Ellis mentioned. So I mean, I think if the best case scenario for the Ravens to take the division here is to at least win 2 of these 3 games. But last time the Ravens and Bengals met at MNT, the Bengals just absolutely kicked the Ravens' butt, man. Jamar Chase, almost racking up 200 yards. Joe Burrow was out there dealing. Joe Mixon had a great game, and like it wasn't expected, because like the Ravens have come off like 5 straight wins against the Bengals, and I mean, it was just unexpected. I think, but this time around, like since the Ravens are missing like key starters on the defense, and along with the COVID additions on offense and defense, and with Lamar still being uncertain for this game, I do believe in Tyler Huntley, but the Ravens I'm just worried about the Ravens defense. So I mean, if and this is a little hard game to call, but I think the Bengals have a really good chance of winning this game because they're at home. They can take advantage of this depleted Ravens secondary. And, I think that Jamar Chase is going to have a really good day. Give me the Bengals 30-23 over the Ravens.
This game, it just I want to pick the Bengals looking at this team. As Rashad just said, they beat them 41-17 earlier in the season. The Bengals have been winning games, but they've been struggling. Joe Mixon hasn't been playing all too well. Jamar Chase has been dropping some passes. Joe Burrow's been doing all right. He's fallen off from that midseason form he had where he was on fire, torching defenses left and right. And it's just difficult looking at this game because it's a perfect matchup for them to get things clicking just for the playoffs and the end of the season stretch they have, because this Ravens defense is battered. Like they had like third, fourth string practice squad guys guarding Devontae Adams. That's how you know how bad it is. And it just doesn't seem like it's going to get any better for them. This defense just keeps losing key pieces. Hopefully Lamar Jackson is available for this game because maybe he can pull off some heroics, a comeback maybe. But yeah, I just hope if the Ravens' hopes lie on Lamar Jackson like every other game. If he can bring that magic he has, give their season another, give them a fighting chance at the end of the season, because as Rashad noted, that's went to these last 3 games and I don't see them beating the Rams. Cooper Kupp is going to have a field day against that team, but that's an issue for next week. This game is the biggest issue. If they lose this game, they're not going to win 2 out of the 3. Like flat out, they're not going to finish the season on 2 straight wins. So I'm gonna root for the Ravens here. Lamar Jackson's gonna have a good game for himself. Give me the Ravens winning this one, 31-28.
I like the Ravens this one too. I just feel like there's going to be momentum coming off this last game. I thought that was the Ravens' best game of the year. That last game in a lot of ways. I mean, I do. I mean, particularly the second half of the year. Let's say. I think you carry some momentum over from that game, even though it was a tough loss. And let's be real. The Bengals have not played well these last couple of weeks. They haven't. That Denver game was awful. I watched it, side by side with the Ravens game. I watched every snap, and I'm telling you right now, that was an awful football game. And they haven't played well since that Ravens game, in my opinion. Like consistently move the ball. Maybe the Oakland game, yeah, they got the ball down the field, but look, man, Jamar Chase is a good receiver, but he's a one-trick pony, man. He's been figured out, right? And so unless he beats you right off the line, he's not gonna, get super loose, late in the play and beat you that way. People have figured out, yeah, that we're not gonna let you do that now. Tomorrow, we actually watching for that now. I don't know. I just think coaching matchup, Harbaugh advantage, Harbaugh, and I think the Escalooser gets fired up about mid fourth quarter. But I do think it'll be a low scoring game. I think the Ravens to hold on, win this one, 19-16, slow creep of a game like these AFC North division games have been all year. With those exceptions of those blowout games the Bengals have been involved in. But I like 19-16, Baltimore hanging on here. I said setting up that Week 18 Monster Mash in Baltimore.
Yeah, they're doing the mash for sure. This is going to have to be, the game for the Bengals to step it up. This is where, are we transitioning to a new era in the AFC North? The Browns already had their shot last year. They did something with it, but that has sort of fallen to pieces this year. I know they're not officially out of it yet either, but I mean, Baker Mayfield's being held together by tape and, and braces and stuff like that. So this, to me, the Bengals are the logical choice to take that next step. They're healthier. They're younger. They have talent on both sides of the ball. They're not a juggernaut by any stretch, but just as we know, the Ravens and the Steelers have been there forever. And Rashad, I got to ask you real quick on the Mark Andrews piece. Does that include Ozzie Newsome as a Brown?
No, I don't think he's a Browns
That's
guy.
tough. Maybe need Mr. Smith in on that one. But I mean, when I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
of the Ravens and the Browns, I think of Ozzie Smith as the GM of the Browns. I mean, excuse me, of the Ravens, the guy that orchestrated all those years of winning. And I think of him as a great player for the Browns, who I would think
Yeah.
got to 1,000 yards, but maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, this is really the week that the Bengals, if they're going to make that next step, this is the week they have to win. They're coming off that 41-17 blowout, BOC baby, in that one in Baltimore. So coming home, sometimes what happens is some teams rally when they play home. They play great at home. Some teams choke it up. So I am impressed what Mr. L said that, that was a dog of a game in Denver. But to me, as I mentioned last week, anytime you travel Mile High and you win in Denver against a decent football team, it's not the Denver teams of old. A win's a win. And, as I look at them this week coming home, they have the Ravens in the place where they need them to be if they're going to beat them to try to take that next step. And I agree. I thought the Ravens played a great second half. I watched that whole second half and I was really impressed. I came in here talking to you guys tonight. I was even found myself slightly rooting for the Ravens last week because I was just so impressed with Huntley and what he was doing and how the team rallied and everybody just played so hard that 2-point play. I loved the call. And I thought this is going to be amazing redemption and this is going to carry them. And maybe it could go that way again. As Mr. L said, maybe they can build off of that, or maybe it's just takes the legs out a little bit. So all that for me is to say, if Lamar plays, I think it can be a slightly different game because I think he, as well as Huntley played, I think, Lamar is Lamar and he can play that way, maybe plus a little bit. But this is the week for me that I see the Bengals maybe being the rising team in this division. And maybe they'll prove me wrong. But for me, I see them going that way. And if they're truly going to take that next step, it's going to be this week. And I don't think they're going to be easy. I'm going to put the Ravens in another 1-pointer, and I see them on the wrong end of it. I'm going to go Bengals 31, Ravens 30.
Yeah, hopefully if Lamar plays, that's good. But if not, we are ready to roll with Tyler Huntley. He's definitely capable of running this offense in Lamar's absence. But getting to the next game, we have Mr. Woodward's Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills, in which is a huge divisional showdown going on in Foxborough. Last time we saw these two teams play together, it was like 30 mile per hour winds. It was like a tornado on the field. Like, it was so cold. All they would do was run the ball. Mac Jones had like what, 4 total pass attempts in the entire game, right,
Three, I
Mr.
think.
He had three.
Three.
He had
Three.
three total pass attempts. Like, you don't ever see that like in a game ever. But coming this time, I mean, the Bills are coming off a win against the Carolina Panthers, in which I think it was like an ugly win. I mean, Josh Allen played so and so. I mean, they still got the win, so I can't really say anything. But I think the Patriots being at home in a big game, Mac Jones is going to step up. Hopefully that the Patriots defense is going to show out against this Bills offense. Relying on JC Jackson, Matthew Judon, and being led by Mac Jones and the rest of the offense. So I feel like if they contain Josh Allen and that Bills offense is Stephon Diggs, and they also lost Cole Beasley, so they're also down a target. I feel like if they can contain those two and make this team one-dimensional, like giving it off to Devin Singletary, I think that the Patriots will have success over here. Give me the Patriots 24-17.
Last time this matchup happened, Sean McDermott showed how great of a coach he is. Couldn't defend 29 straight running plays, I believe. But looking at the Patriots game against Colts last week, they clearly only lost because of Jonathan Taylor. That man had 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, I believe. But after the first quarter, the Patriots defense did a great job. They only allowed like 3 more points than the second and third quarter, and I think a touchdown in the fourth. And that offense showed they're good. Mac Jones had 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just the defense. The defense was struggling. The Colts just had the possession with Jonathan Taylor running the ball like crazy. You can't do much like when a team is dominating on the run and has a clock on their side almost the entire game. I don't think that situation is going to happen here in the Bill, like against the Bills. Devin Singletary is nothing compared to Jonathan Taylor. I believe the Patriots are going to be able to game plan for this. Bill Belichick is not going to let another running back destroy his defense. He's not that type of coach. He's going to look to shut down this running game. He's going to force him to pass to Stephon Diggs, and they have J.C. Jackson there to cover him. And I think that's a great matchup for the Patriots because the Bills just aren't doing great right now. Like they did beat the Panthers, but it's the Panthers. That's expected of them. And this offense is another game for them to pick themselves up. They started slow. This game, they don't want to start slow. It's an issue we've seen with a lot of teams, especially the Ravens. If you start slow, obviously you're going to struggle to get back into it. So I feel like Bill Belichick's going to try coming to this game guns firing, guns blazing, and get Mac Jones back into that confident rhythm. We've seen him before in the season, just doing a great job. They did it late in the second half, and I feel like he's going to come with the same game plan in the first half. And just looking at this team, the Patriots. If I was a Patriots fan, Mr. Woodward, I'd be so happy. Look at like the progression you guys had from last season to this season. It's a great transition. I can see them still getting better. And as Mr. Woodward said in the starting of the podcast, he sees them going to the playoffs, maybe even the Super Bowl. I don't see the Super Bowl, but I see the playoffs. And this win against the Bills is going to be a big push for them into the playoffs. Give me the Patriots winning this game 31-20.
Yeah. I mean, can you stop the run? Can you run the ball? The not-so-buffs can do neither. They can't run it, and they can't stop it. So doesn't look good for them, particularly in Foxborough this time where Bill's already had a game to watch you on the field. So I don't like their chances here the second time around. Plus, I mean, you're seeing them fall apart in the press conferences, right? They're cracking under the pressure, right? What's this, the safety? He was on McAfee yesterday. He cracked under the pressure in the press conference, walked out of the press conference the other day. Like, they can't handle the pressure, guys. They're not used to winning. They're not winners. They're the Buffalo not-so-buff Bills. They're not used to winning. Not to mention they got a lot of non-winners already on that offense, like that guy who won't be playing this weekend. Oh, too bad, so sad, idiot. But, there's that. And to be blunt would be an understatement. I mean, I would like to say so many more things about another guy tied with Aaron Rodgers, the smartest guy on the planet. But at the end of the day, it's blowout city, baby. I'm calling BOC. I'm calling New England 30 and not so buff 3.
Ooh, wow! I thought 31-20 was a close to a BOC call, but 30-3. That is a big time BOC call.
I mean, well, aside from Diggs getting loose, but when's that going to happen? They're just going to bracket him just like he did AB every time they play. Who else on that not so buffs offense is going to beat you? 95-year-old Emmanuel Sanders is going to beat you. Did he ever beat you before? Bill, does he even have a catch in his career against New England?
I don't even think he's healthy for this week.
Oh, so there you go. Combine.
So he won't be getting any catches this week either. I like how we're trending, and on got I don't know if I call Pat Super Bowl. I definitely said, at the beginning of the year, I would have just been happy to have them make the playoffs, because last year it was just such a bad year because you could see they were trending down and I didn't see Tom Brady having quite the resurgence that he's had, last year and this year, MVP conversation and Super Bowl last year. Not because I thought that he didn't still have what it takes, but he wasn't surrounded by talent in New England anymore. He just didn't have anybody. And, football is a team game ultimately, and you need other good players on your team, whether it's on the offensive line, the running backs, wide receivers, when you're a great quarterback. And so the Patriots went out and retooled. So, I mean, that's what makes this year so great. They retooled, and those guys have already meshed together. And so I got to give it to guys like Matthew Judon, who clearly is part of that. And even Mac Jones, who's come in and had to be a leader on the offense. And they got, Damian Harris, who unfortunately, I'm not sure Damian Harris is going to be available for this one. And that actually hurt the Pats last week, because Ramondre Stevenson is great, but he's a good 1B. Damian Harris is 1A. And having those two guys coming in fresh all the time, and of course being down 20-0, that played right into what the Colts wanted, which was Mac Jones to have to beat them. And granted, yeah, he did throw for almost 300, a couple of touchdowns, but he also threw 2 picks. And that's not something he's done this year. And those picks are the difference. I mean, turnovers are what lose football games. We know that. And so I think, as I said before, I hope this is a wake-up call game. At the beginning of the year, Buffalo, not here on this show, and definitely not with Mr. Ellis. But Buffalo was a hot pick for people, right? People had the Bills going to the Super Bowl, challenging the Chiefs, and they definitely have cracked. And that surprised me. Again, I saw what they did to the Patriots on Monday night here at the end of the season last year, and then what the Patriots went up and did to them. And it was just like it had been for the last 18, 20 years. The Bills were crumbling and the Patriots were ascending. And so it was just amazing to see. And so I like where we're going. I like building off of that loss last week. Blowout City for the Patriots just doesn't seem like a thing for me this year. I mean, yeah, they were able to do it to Cleveland, but every break went their way and Cleveland was spiraling. And so for me, in a division game like this, I just think both teams are up for it. You never know what the weather's going to be. I think it's supposed to be okay. But for me, I definitely like the Pats in this one, at home. I like Mac and the boys, and the defense put some pressure on them. And I expect Bill to have them. Bill we trust, as they say, at home. And I'll take the Pats in this one. I'm going to keep it tight, though. Nick Folk with a field goal to win, 23-20 Pats.
Yeah, very good pick. Mr. Wood, I gotta ask you a question. Do you think the Buffalo Bills have peaked, or do you think their ceiling is still high for growth?
I think it really looks like to me that they peaked last year. It looks to me like they peaked last year, and they would have to continue to ascend, and that's definitely a great question because they do have talent. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I know Josh Allen there's different views of Josh Allen here, but a lot of teams would love to have a Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, obviously. Right, I know. I'm God. But to me, it doesn't mean that their windows, their windows close, as people like to say on these things. So I think that they still have an open window, but they're going to have to learn how to be winners. And this is the point I was making about the Bengals. The Ravens, the Steelers, the Patriots currently, and Washington, and I think Ron Rivera can possibly get there with them. You got to know how to win. It's not that easy.
Mhm. Yeah, very true, very true. I mean, yeah, having the formula to win with the right coaches will definitely get you farther than having a lot of talent on your team. If you know how to win, I think with the players you have, prime example, the Ravens, you can pull off something. So that's true. And for the next game of the week, we got Ungod's Washington football team versus the Dallas Cowboys. Looking at this game, Washington is, obviously decimated by COVID. They lost Taylor Heineke and Allen due to COVID protocols, and now they were coming off a loss against division rival Philadelphia Eagles. Honestly, this game, it all depends if whether or not who's more healthy. I think if Washington football team can get their players back and, you know, um, you know, get more prepared, like, getting Taylor Heineke back and stuff like that, I think they could stand a chance against Dallas. But, I think this right here, Dallas is in a prime position to take the division. With the win over Washington, I think they'll easily just take the division this year. Uh, but in all honesty, my prediction is based off of Taylor Heineke and maybe Kyle Allen clearing protocols. So if those two are in, I think that Washington has a better chance of winning. But I still think that since it's at home, Dallas is gonna take it. Give me the Dallas Cowboys 27-20.
As our motto has been since midseason, since we're still a young team, throw a darn stone. I can't say it the way Rivera says it, but throw that stone. Every Goliath has its David, and we've been the David multiple times this season, and I'm ready to be David again. Give us Heineke back. We need that fighting heart at our quarterback spot. Obviously, he doesn't have the crazy talent all these quarterbacks have, but he has the heart we need. You saw our offense without him. It just seemed like a soulless offense just on the field running routes and all that thing. It didn't have any life to it. Without Heineke, we don't have a life on our offense. Gilbert was just glued to the pocket. Of course, he's a 4-day quarterback, but he was scared to leave the pocket and run. That limited us so much. With Heineke, he's a wild card. He can throw it, he can run it. Of course, sometimes his throws are stupid, but we live and die by it. I love the way he plays. We just need that heart on our team. Everyone plays better with him there, and that was evident last night. But as Rashad noted, COVID is decimating us. We just lost Cole Holcomb, our best linebacker, to the COVID-19 list, but it just makes us more of a David. We want to throw that stone. It's time for our players to show up. Our recently elected just got announced, Jonathan Allen, our Pro Bowler. Pro Bowler. He needs to show up, inspire this defense. He tried doing it last night. We couldn't get anything going. He's got to try again. He has to show that leadership he's been showing during his 5-year career with us, and hopefully we get people back. We lost Brandon Sheriff last week, late before COVID. I think we lost him Monday. Hopefully he comes back and gets to play for us. Our line is getting somewhat back together. Keith Ismo is doing a great job at center. Offensive line is not an issue for us right now, in my opinion, with Heineke there. But hopefully our other line, our on the other side of the ball, hopefully we get more healthy cornerbacks. William Jackson and Kendall Fuller both got hurt. One on COVID list, one hurt his ankle. Hopefully we get them back for this game because Dak is stuttering right now. I don't care if they're winning games. Dak is playing the worst football of his career right now. You can look at his QBR, his stats, is everything. He is playing horrible right now. That defense is pitting them in a backpack and carrying the soul out of them. If they did not have such a star-studded defense, this Cowboys team would be crumbling right now, like all the other Cowboys teams of the past. Of course, they're just delaying the inevitable. There's no stopping the crumble of the Cowboys, but it's going to start sometime soon. And I wouldn't mind being the just knocking off that little piece that begins the crumble. Throw the stone, cause the crumble. Give me Washington win this game 31-28. We got to show out sometime. Why not in Jerry's world?
Just to interject for a second, Mr. Ellis, I already got my lead for this week's piece. Throw the stone.
If you live in the glass house, don't throw stone. Well, we know Jerry Jones has thrown a lot of stones and his share of stones over the years. But he also has the stones, I think, sometimes to step up and do what Dan Snyder won't do, which is just kind of take care of a problem. So I do give him credit for that. And unfortunately, the Washington quarterback problem is going to continue this week. And I'd love to pick him here. I'm going to be rooting like Hades for him. I'm going to be rooting like I would have rooted for 300 out there, Sparta and all those sort of things. But yeah, it's not looking good. I don't think. I think the Aurora Borealis shining down in Dallas is going to be shining for the Cry Boys, and yeah, got to give this one to Dallas pretty big here too. I'd love to say otherwise, but this Washington offense can't move the ball, running the ball. That's trouble. The 3-4-D just instills no confidence. The linebackers, can't get out there and make plays, and this is 33-16 Dallas. I'm going to call it a late big Dallas win, not a BOC. It'll be close for a little bit, and Heineke will fight if he plays, but I still, either way, they're not winning this game.
Garrett Gilbert was better than I thought. I was just, he looked like he did. You're right. He was afraid to leave the pocket. He could have stepped up a number of times. He looked like Big Ben from early in his career. They're just standing back there like a statue. And he's a pretty big dude, Gilbert looked like. But he didn't have Ben's ability to just kind of rocket it, and so he threw some balls in the dirt, but he played a lot better than I thought he would. He kept it close early. Little side note, I think Jalen Hurts put the whole Minshew mania stuff to bed because I thought he looked pretty good last night. I thought Jalen Hurts I loved how they kept talking about he could smile at some point, that like Mark Sanchez maybe smiled too much in his career. That's why he is in the booth. But Jalen Hurts was pretty impressive. So, the one tough thing is the Cowboys. My God, they are the constant talk of the league. Like every time I turn on the radio, I turn on TV, what about the Cowboys? The Cowboys and the Packers, right? For the Aaron Rodgers story. But everything, it must be maddening. I'm going to have to ask Coach Nee to be a fan of the Cowboys because of all the doom and gloom. I mean, unless they're cruising and just crushing people, it's always like, what about the Cowboys? Do the Cowboys have what it takes? Like they're 10-4, right? They're 10-4. And there's all these questions. It's maddening to listen to. And all that being said, I agree with what Mr. Ellis just said in terms of it won't be blowout city because that means from the start. But unless Taylor Heineke plays, and maybe even if he does, and I love the idea of, David going in and slaying Goliath. I love it. But because he is that guy too, that's who Taylor Heineke is. And I hope he's back because he's fun to watch, and he does. There was no life last night, and Gibson looked like he didn't even want to be there half of that game. And then,
the entire game, it was hilarious.
The whole game. And so in this one, the Cowboys, it should have been blowout city last time, a couple of weeks ago in Washington. I mean, they had every chance to blow that game open before the first half was even over, but they just couldn't capitalize. They were kicking field goals. But that offense is just as talented as that defense. That's the amazing thing. The receivers they have, Amari Cooper and CD Lamb and what is it? Galloway. What's the other receiver's name? Galloway. Really good. Yeah, I mean those three guys, and the tight end's pretty good, and then the running backs if Pollard's playing. So for me, you don't even need Dak to be perfect. You just need him to be manageable. I think Garrett Gilbert could go back there with a full week of practice and they could blow out City of Washington because they have that much talent. So for me on this one, I think, day after Christmas, TV, home, I see everything just being in Dallas's favor for this one. I hope Goliath goes down myself. I'll be rooting for Washington as well. But I think ultimately for me, this one, I'm with you guys. I think it being pretty lopsided in the end, 34-20 Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys?
Never
That's
say
all.
that again, please don't.
That's all Unget's gonna be hearing for the next week and a half. How about them Cowboys? But for the next game of the week, we have Mr. Ellis's Steelers versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and like looking at this week before all the COVID cases, I genuinely thought Kansas City was just gonna blow the Steelers team out, at Arrowhead, but now they lost Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and a couple of people on the defensive side. And I think that definitely factors into, whether or not the Steelers could have a chance of upsetting the Chiefs here. I think the Steelers have shown fight all this season. Like as I said, they've battled a lot, so they could give them a shot at an upset here. But I think the Chiefs will find a way with Andy Reid and the way that defense has been playing. I think they'll always find a way. They've turned a 3-4 season into a 9-4 season, and they'll look to make it 10-4 this season. So I think the Steelers really do have a chance of upsetting the Chiefs here, but it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they tend to heat up at this time of the year. So, it would be really interesting to see what Mike Tomlin and his squad have planned for Patrick Mahomes. But give me the Chiefs 27, the Steelers 21.
This is going to be a great game. We've noted that winning coaches are more important than talent. And we have two winning coaches right now in this game, Mike Thomas and Andy Reid. Obviously, Andy Reid's success is more recent than Mike Tomlin's, but this is going to be coach versus coach with all the people that are missing on both sides of the ball. This is going to be a hard game for the Chiefs because they haven't had a situation like this without losing Hill and Kelsey. A lot of the other wide receivers are going to have to step up. The other tight ends are going to have to step up and show up. Obviously, that won't be too hard. You have Mahomes throwing you the ball, so you should have a good chance of getting every catch. And I guess it's Steelers defense. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. But recently, I've been showing up Mr. Ellis's favorite player, TJ Watt. He's been doing great. And I think he got your guys' season high record for your franchise. So that must have stung for you. But as I keep saying, and I've been saying, this offense, Najee Harris, that's all you got to. I know you guys have some good wide receivers, but man, Najee Harris, that was a great pick. I doubted it at the start of the year at the draft. I was like, I don't think it would work out. But now Najee Harris, he's a piece of the future, and I feel like you guys are going to build your offense around him. And I think you guys should because your wide receivers. I don't like Claypool. He has his moments. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he's not. And he just turns up in games when it doesn't matter. But when it matters, he disappears. So I think Mr. start picking bones with Chase Claypool instead of TJ Watt because I feel like Claypool's going to ghost this game. Mahomes is going to have a good game. The offense is going to start it for the Steelers. Drop out of the division race. Who knows? Give me the Chiefs winning this game 31-21.
Mr. Ellis, I believe this is what they call poking the bear.
Oh, it's fine. I look, I think Chase is as much of an example though as just not really having an opportunity to be engulfed in the Steeler way like is expected. I thought Hines Ward had a great comment on this last week. He's like, man, if I did that kind of bleep when I was playing, Bettis would have knocked my head off. Joey Porter would have strangled me in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have that anymore, right? You just don't. You don't really have it anywhere anymore. Maybe Brady's like the only one holding kind of that mentality together down there with Arians, kind of like combined, in Tampa. You don't really have that in most places, right? This is going to be ugly, guys. It's going to be bad. And I know that, we have these COVID things going on with Kansas City, and these games have proven that it does wear you down, but you can also still find a way to win like the Rams did. I think this game will look similar to that Rams-Seattle game the other night, where maybe we'll hang in there for a little while, but at the end of the day, I mean, we don't start games fast enough. I mean, again, guys, we have not scored a touchdown in 6 straight first quarter. I mean, that's terrible. How do you ever come back? You just can't do it. And Kansas City's going to come out and score early. But here's the other thing, though. One thing that could keep us around in this game, Kansas City doesn't have a great running game. If you notice, our defense has played best this year against teams that don't have great running games, right? Buffalo, Cleveland, with Chubb being injured first time, so like we won some of those games because we played teams that just didn't really commit to the run. We didn't start any of those games fast or anything, right? But against Kansas City, when you play Mahomes, he just finds another way to beat you. So yeah, it's going to be a loss, fellas. And I'd like to say it's going to be close, but I can't see it. No, I got it. Kansas City 30, Pittsburgh 17.
Yeah, Steelers don't
It's
don't
like an
start
exhibition game, fact-finding mission. We're waiting for them in the playoffs. This is a fact-finding mission. Bill Cowher against Indianapolis 2005 guys, because we'll win the next 2 games after that because they're division games, and we'll see.
Pittsburgh doesn't start anything fast this year, man. Nothing. I mean, I got the Chiefs in this one. If Tyreek Hill and Kelsey are playing, I think this could go sideways fast, because this is not a team that's necessarily going to slow down. They're not necessarily going to take their foot off the pedal, so the Steelers can catch up, as we saw with the Vikings, as we saw some other instances this year. Now, but if Hill and Kelsey aren't playing, I mean, they're a different team. Those guys accounted for, 18, 20 pass catches against the Chargers, over 250 yards receiving, winning touchdown. I mean, those guys really are the offense with Patrick Mahomes. But, the crazy thing is, you just can't rule out a scrappy Steelers team. And so what Mr. L said at the start about this could come down to week 18 in Baltimore again, I can't believe it because of what I've seen. I mean, and you said it several times, like, we're not good. The Steelers aren't good. The Ravens aren't good. The Browns aren't good. I mean, and joke around about it, but they must not be, because they're taking so long to start. Good teams don't take that long to start. But then again, what did we see last week? Brady and the Bucs got shut out at home. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, this is, COVID aside, a wacky year in the NFL with just the slow starts and some of the numbers and some of the games. I mean, even the Patriot Buffalo game, that has 3 passes. That's like 1930s numbers. So for me, the Chiefs are hot, and it's scary for the AFC when the Chiefs are hot, because their defense is playing well also. And we talked about this last week, I think, talking about peaking at the right time. And I think they are. And I love that it's a fact-finding mission, because that means you're going to have to go back to Kansas City. And that looks like that's where everybody's going to have to go if you're going to want to make it to the AFC Championship game, because right now the Chiefs are in that spot. And if they win this week, they really seize control of that. So this is their first meeting since 2018, I guess. And that was a different Chiefs team. So this will be interesting. But I think ultimately Steelers, I'm never going to rule them out, because they just don't quit. And that's a testament to Tomlin, as we've talked about many times, and maybe some of those veterans, even though they should be, taking Claypool's head off, as the great Heinz Ward said. So for me, I look at this one, keeping it close still, but Chiefs will win comfortably 31-24.
Yeah, I think all right, go ahead, Mr. Ross.
Well, I was going to say real quick, though, but and the Chiefs are also kind of in position to now choose their victims too, right? Because they get to play the Bungles, right? And so they kind of get to, decide who they want to play in the playoffs in a way. Like, maybe we'll stand back against the Steelers, because we know they got no line, so we can stand back against them. We're not gonna fully unleash Melvin Ingram, on his former team. We'll save that for next time. And Bungles, we want you out because you got a young quarterback and
Yeah, we don't want to deal with that.
get rid of you. Yeah, you got to go because we don't need you
Unpredictable.
here. Yeah, but yeah. Sorry, I just had to add that because I do think that's an important factor in this game. We'll see how Andy Reid plays it. Is he going to try to run it down our throats, which he hasn't done against anybody ever? Maybe it'll be a first for him because it can surely happen. Although Devin Bush on the COVID list will not be playing. Brand new news flash here.
Oof.
That might not be a bad thing though, because he's been awful.
Yeah, I think Mr. Wood, you summed it up well. I think if the Steelers come down to winning this game, it's a testament to Mike Tomlin and leaders on the defense like Cam Hayward, those experienced vets.
Yeah.
Hopefully like Ben Roethlisberger, he could probably step up as a leader, and on the offensive side of the ball, and Cam Hayward stepping up on the defensive side of the ball to hopefully make this team rally against a really tough opponent in Kansas City. But coming for our next game of the week, we got the Cleveland Browns versus the Green Bay Packers. Honestly, this is going to be a very good game. The Browns have been hit by so many COVID cases, but coming back, I think Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum, all those people that tested positive should come back for this week. And Green Bay's coming off a really gritty win against the Ravens, winning by 1 point, having that goal line stand. But I feel like the Browns played well against the Raiders. I mean, Nick Mullins came in, promoted from the practice squad. I think he played a really good game, but they still, with the absences on both sides of the ball, I think the Raiders took advantage of that, and were ultimately able to beat the Browns. But going up to Green Bay on Christmas, that's going to be a tough feat, and especially Baker coming back off of COVID and not having any time to practice. I think that's going to be a really, really tough ask to come out for a win. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are front runners right now. They are red hot. They've already clinched division, right? They've clinched the NFC North. Yeah. And they're sitting at 11-3, and then they can just easily just take out the Browns here. So I mean, Packers have been red hot. So I'll take the Packers in this one. I'll take the Packers 41-20. They've been averaging 30 points, or no, not 41-20, 41-28. I'll be nice. But the Packers have been averaging 30 plus points a game, so I expect a high scoring game here.
Noting that this game is on Christmas in Green Bay, this shouldn't be like a long discussion. Whatever quarterback's there, it's gonna suck. Nick Mullins, he's a inexperienced quarterback. Well, he had a good season with the 49ers for a little bit, but no QB is ready for those cold winter days in Green Bay. And if it's Baker Mayfield playing, I'd honestly not want Baker Mayfield to play because those hard hits in the cold are going to sting. And he is banged up. And that defense knows it. They're going to lay some extra hits on him. If he runs out of the pocket, that man better pray for his life he can slide. Because if he does not, his head is getting taken off. The Packers will be ruthless. This is their type of game. Snow, cold in Green Bay. Perfect mix for this defense. We don't even talk about the offense. The offense is gonna have an easy day at work. They don't even need to put up the 41 points Rashad noted. They can put up a measly 20 points and probably win this game because I don't think this Browns offense is gonna get going on the ground or through the air because just the weather is not in their favor. Give me the Packers winning this game simply because the weather and the situation of the game. 31. I've been picking 31 too much. I like that number a bit too much today. Will be nice. I'll give the Packers a bonus here. Give them 34-20.
Fellas, call me insane. And I've been called that before, but when it comes to
You didn't hear an
when
argument.
it
You didn't hear an
comes
argument
to
from any of us.
sports, when it comes to sports. But something just when I look at that Packers defense in the second half last week, I saw a defense that could get bullied up front. I saw the Ravens offensive line have their way a little bit up front with them. And I also saw that in a few other games recently when I watched Green Bay. And I think they put up a fight for it, but I'm telling you, I feel like the cracks in the armor for Green Bay are coming here. And I think that some of them may be karmatic in nature. We'll see. But for certain smart men that know more than all of us. But I think more importantly, they struggled against the run late in that game. And I could see Cleveland taking advantage of it. And I just feel like that was a weird game with Cleveland. I feel like if they get Mayfield back, it's enough for some stability. I think it's Stefanski back on the sideline. They have to have this game because if they lose this game, their season's over because you're not winning this division at 9-8. I don't think so. I think you either got to be 10-7 or you got to be the Steelers and be 9-7-1 and win it. But you're not winning it at 9-8. So they have to win the game. It's back against the wall. For Green Bay, they don't need it. I thought Green Bay showed some flaws in the armor last week. I'm going to take the Clowns to pull a massive upset here, but I'm taking them. I'm taking 26-23 Cleveland in a shocker, and they're going to find a way to score 26 points. They make a play on D.
You're insane. On God, you presented Green Bay in a pretty clear way, cold, frigid, wintry. It's not like these guys from Cleveland are coming up from Miami, So now that being said, I'm always amazed when I see teams travel up to Green Bay this time of year, specifically in the playoffs. I can remember the year that the Giants beat them, and probably one of the coldest games on TV I've ever seen in my life. And people's faces were frozen. Tom Coughlin's ears fell off, I think. But you're right. Every hit must hurt a little bit more. And when you're Baker Mayfield and you are being held together by tape and all sorts of different slings and whatnot, it's definitely going to hurt some. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Mayfield's playing and Landry's playing, that they could put up some numbers. They play in the cold. They play hard. Mayfield always gives it everything he's got, but I'm with you. He could get his head taken off if he can't slide, if he can't get down, if he's not going to dive because it hurts so much because of the shoulder injuries and everything he's got. But, he brings with him, Taylor Heineke type play, he does bring some life to it. Now, he's a pretty inaccurate passer. That's been Baker Mayfield's biggest issue. He's a 500 quarterback. And he's going up against a guy who is well above 500, who is an insanely accurate quarterback. As a matter of fact, when he slightly missed a throw the other night, the announcer was talking about, you might see him miss 2 throws like that all year. And it wasn't Mark Sanchez, but, I know they love Aaron Rodgers, but the accuracy is the key. That's what makes these guys really tick in the NFL. That's what keeps them there. But Myles Garrett could feast against this weak offensive line, and Mr. Ellis was talking about. He could absolutely come out and just wreak some havoc. I think Clowney's out as far as I've seen, so they won't have him come from both sides. There's definitely some chinks in the armor. I'm not fully in on Green Bay. I think that their defense is a bit of an Achilles heel, but they have had some moments. They've given up 28 points or more their last 4 games. That's a lot of points, which is why they have to average over 30. But they're doing it, and they have the offense to do it. They have the talent. Obviously, they really just need Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams because those two are they click. They work perfectly. I don't see the Browns getting blown out in this one. I don't see them with the upset, though. I think that was a big win for the Pack coming to Baltimore in a game that came down to the wire. It wasn't a great call by Harbaugh in terms of the rollout and trying to hit Andrews, but they covered it. They had 2 guys there. The ball was behind them anyway. But, what the Pack is doing, they are the front runners. They have proven that they're the best team in the NFC right now. It's just the way it is. And they're going home on Christmas Day, much like, years past. They will take advantage of that. And I think they'll win this one. I think that they'll take this one 29-20.
Yeah, I think now they're the solidified front runners because if you look at the Bucks now with all the injuries they sustained, they lost Levante David, they lost Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette's out for a good bit, and just recently they signed Le'Veon Bell. But it's Le'Veon Bell. I don't think he's not gonna fill the role of Leonard Fournette. I think Ronald Jones is well more equipped than Le'Veon Bell as of now. But getting into our last game, I'm gonna make my prediction short for this. We got the Seahawks and Bear. It's a very throwaway game. I mean, both teams' seasons are over. They're out of playoff contention. Russell Wilson has his first losing season with the Seahawks. So I'll just take the Bears over the Seahawks. Give me the Bears 23, Seahawks 20.
How dare you say it's a throwaway game? This is very important. Russell Wilson is my fantasy football quarterback. I need him to perform against this devastated Bears defense. Kirk Cousins couldn't do it. That almost costed me. I don't know why I keep trusting Kirk Cousins. But back to Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. AJ, I need you to support them into a win. Get my boy Dangerous cooking. I need those fantasy points. Russell Wilson's gonna have a field day. Give me the Seahawks win this game, 28-21.
Got to take Russ too on his farewell tour here. These last couple games on his way to Pittsburgh. So we'll go ahead and root for Russ to get to those sidelines early. Let's get a big lead here. I think Seattle goes up big at halftime, and they coast, win this thing 30-21 in the end. But Russ is hopefully on the sideline, resting up for his trip down to Monongahela, gentlemen.
I am not sure Pittsburgh is on Russ's wish list right now, as much as he's on theirs. As you said, this could be Pete Carroll and Russ's last year in Seattle. A little hunch on that. So both. Pete definitely wants to win this one, and Russ wants to cook because he's just glad to be back. That injury derailed their season. I didn't think they had big hopes or anything because that AFC West is pretty talented, but road games are so tough when you're playing out the string, but they're not very easy at home either when you're the Bears and Matt Nagy's going to get fired. So the real interesting thing in this one is how much will Justin Fields get to show off what he can do, and how much does he want to show off what he can do for this coaching staff, because a new one's going to be coming in, and that's really, for me, what's going to be interesting. I think Justin Fields has a great skill set, and I'll be interested to see who comes in to work with him, because what's working there, what's happening there now is not working. And so this is not a throwaway game, but really only because of On God's Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully,
I have too much in mind. My reputation with my cousins and a paycheck.
Oh goodness, bro. Hopefully Russell Wilson balls out for you. I'm pulling for you, man. I'm pulling
Right,
for you.
right.
But yeah, that about wraps it up for week 16, guys. Thank you guys for watching so much. Happy holidays to everybody watching. It's definitely gonna be a great week for football. Many great matchups, a lot at stake here. And signing off, I've been Rashab. We have had Anga, Mr. Woodward, and Mr. Les. Once again, happy holidays, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you next week for week 17. See you guys.